people before, because I wasn't a Redditor. I've never been like a Redditor. Been on Reddit, but not a Redditor. Like it's something that, hey, I go on the, open my phone up or I'm on the PC and I just go to Reddit every day. I was never that guy. But people would say things like, Reddit is where video games, like it's a different culture, right? If you're not with it, you're not with it, and it's a different thing. It's a different thing to understand. And certainly in the recent years, I've sitting here and monitored this bull crap, and I'm seeing, because the only reason I got on the Reddit a little more than what I'd usually done in the past, because unfortunately a lot of gaming companies or games that I would play or rather be interested in will funnel all their information there. Patch notes, stuff like that will go to Reddit. And then we, a couple of years go by, and I'm starting to see how these gaming companies start listening to these crowds. We talked about this with Avengers and like how we were talking about this in the beta. Like this was like in the beginning stages, like before the game was even out. And I'm sitting here watching these guys destroy this game in real time, asking for things that should not even be a part, like just terrible concept designs because they're comic book normies. Well, we have it here again, yet another example of that, and that's with the Outriders. Now, Outriders, for those of you who don't play it, is kind of this little RPGs. People call it a looter shooter. It's just kind of an RPG shooter, third-person shooter game where you have abilities to go alongside all of the different modifications. It does a great job of utilizing those different abilities, probably better than a lot of games do. This is a lot of people compare it to Destiny because of the UI and the abilities. But the abilities in Outriders, which I'll provide all this information with my review for those of you that have not played it, you can get the demo for free if you haven't played it. The abilities matter way more in a game like this than they do those other games. So it's less about like, with Destiny's of the world, like it's mainly a shooter, but the abilities are there. Whereas to this game, it's the abilities are just as important as the shooting. And there's so many different things that you can apply to certain people in addition to the classes that you get. So which classes all are different, but as to be expected, I guess that should have been expected. I sat and watched these weirdos in these boards or subreddits, if you will. Let me set the scene for you. What happened? It was a rough launch for Outriders. Very rough launch. Not necessarily in the gameplay, more so in like the technical issues that are now you just have to expect that with these games. Definitely games that are online, server related issues. I don't think they thought this game was going to be as big as what it was. They should have this, would it been on Game Pass and stuff like that. It was going to have a pretty decent sized user base, and unfortunately, or that's to be expected rather, when you start collecting that data, there are people that you're getting information that you couldn't get with play testers, right? So balancing was a big thing as you see people utilizing these different, as they're making all their, literally thousands of different builds and combinations and stuff that you can build. You're starting to see that there are certain classes, for example, that have a severe advantage over the others. So a lot of the first big patch is dealing with that balance issues. Now, generally, you'd see that as a good thing if you are just a gamer that, especially, it's not a competitive game in terms of it being a PvP game. It is PvE, but the game's all online for a reason. I talked about this on Young River 59 Entertainment, the second channel that I have, and how you have to with a game like that. It's not just, it doesn't matter that you want to play, even if you want to play solo, you guys that play exclusively solo, that doesn't even matter. It's about the fact that the whole concept, as they promoted it, is about it being an online RPG. So your character, your Outrider, exists alongside the other ones. So it doesn't matter, and I can understand why it's always online in that regards. But there's balance issues. So the game nerfed, which look, and I'm one of the builds that got nerfed, and I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. I will not lie. Some of that stuff, definitely in comparison to some of the other classes, it's overpowered. Definitely with the bullet, with the enhanced bullets. Little OP, okay? Little OP. I get it. So they nerfed. And I knew when I saw that the Redditors were not going to like that. I knew they weren't going to like that. I knew they were going to be upset with the idea that there were people that had these builds. There were exploits that they could utilize, not just in the build, but in those non-farm and those legendaries and stuff like that. Those got nerfed. What happens? Ready to start crying. I would have rather you buffed the other builds instead of nerf. What that means, you wanted the game to remain as, basically you wanted it to remain easy. So I agree. And I'm one of the builds that got nerfed. I agree. I'm one of the builds that got nerfed. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it being nerfed. I got all the receipts you need. You go to the Twitch channel, all of those. Well, we're struggling world for tier 14. I'm okay with my build being nerfed. I'm okay with that. I'm not mad. I am not upset at my build being nerfed. Because I'm not going to sit here and make a complaint to the dev because there's a struggle. See, one of the things that I commended Outriders for doing is that the game, at end game, is very difficult. Even with the bullet, it's difficult, man. It is not an easy thing. Like pro folks aren't just about to be flying to level 50 in terms of their gun. It is a difficult game. It is a difficult game. The expeditions, you're playing at your level, specifically like a level above whatever it is you are. It is not easy. Okay? It is not easy. So they nerfed the game. They nerfed it for the builds instead of like, and what some people are like, all right, well, I'd rather than buff this. I say, why? I'd rather than buff the builds that need. Why? For what? I understand that this may be a cultural thing, okay? Where I'm one of those guys that difficult games, definitely difficult online games. That's why I play a lot of competitive games, because you can't really get that out of a single player experience. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with difficult games, especially difficult single player games, the Souls games and stuff that people had so much issues struggling with, and you had Kotaku writers crying because they didn't get an easy mode on the remaster. I'm okay with games going that route because for me, and I understand that every gamer is different, but that's my point, right? Is that there are games that you can go through mindlessly. And to some people, that's what's fun to them. That ain't fun to me. Playing games mindlessly where I don't even have to think and it's just numbing. Those aren't fun for me, but those might be fun for other folks. They gave you a route to where you can lower the tier. Now, doesn't mean you're going to get the best tier, best gear in the game, but they've lowered your tier, and you're going to have to. You can lower your tier, and you'll be at wherever it is that you are. Basically, the game, the way it's set up with the nerfs, they're specifically telling you one thing: if you don't pick it up, they're telling you that not everybody is supposed to basically be maxed out in level. That's basically what they're telling you, because it scales that way, right? Where you have to play higher level expeditions to get better gear. And it's very difficult to do that, right? So what they're basically saying is that not everybody is going to be able to do that. What's the problem? Them nerfing it is them telling you that. Them nerfing you is absolutely telling you that. They're telling you that not everybody is meant to do that. You guys are going to have to think. You guys definitely, if you're playing with other people, you guys are going to have to combine your powers. That's what the concept of that's the design of the game, right? A concept design of the game. What's the problem? What is the problem? See, we talked about this on the show. We've talked about this on the show before. Accessibility to me has ruined modern gaming because everybody feels like that they have to be able to complete something. Whereas I come from and this ain't even me saying, I'm not like that old. I'm 30 years old, right? But we've mentioned before how I got stacks of games, Sega games, that, and we pulled them out on stream the other day, that I've never beat. And that was like a normal thing for us growing up. Well, we would have games that we just never completed. Maybe got a decent part, but we never completed. We never completed. So I'm sitting here like, what's the problem in which it's this I don't know if it's generational. I don't know. But I will say this, Reddit is full of them. Watching people destroy the game real time. If they listen to them. If the guys over at People Can Fly, if they say, y'all gonna gripe about it, you'll get over it. Awesome. But if they listen to Reddit, we're fucked. I'm just gonna tell you that right now, we're fucked. The game will be dumbed down. It will be easy. It will be easier, which is a thing that the game has going for it. And they showcased that, right? When they were doing the expeditions, if you watched those before the game came out, they would talk about how this was not going to be easy. It's not. What's the problem? So they're looking at it, well, okay, we had to grind all this. My guns aren't as valuable as what they or as strong as what they was, particularly like with the bullet builds and people that has built their entire build off of their enhanced bullets. You got nerfed because, well, it ain't supposed to be that easy. Figure it out, adjust. Redditors don't like to adjust, so they gripe. I can't be as effective. Therefore, something's wrong with the game. You nerfed me. I'm not against it, and I'm one of the builds that has the twisted rounds, man. And I'm saying I'm okay with it because I know that stuff is a little OP to sit there. And if you got cooldown reduction and everything, you get them jumps back. Like with my twisted rounds, I got 2 fucking mags of just these enhanced rounds. I admit it's a little overpowered. So they nerfed it. Now the folks like myself and me and Napa were talking about this, and we've been playing this game live. Like, all right, we got the builds that are gonna get nerfed. That's fine. Ain't nothing to it. It means we just gotta adjust. The crybabies at Reddit, oh no, I'd rather you just buff the other builds that didn't have it, or rather like the what's that, the tank build that doesn't I don't think has it, the like rounds. So what? You got nerfed. Adjust, adapt. Is it gonna kill? I guess that's what Redditors don't like to do. We saw them do that. We talked about that again. This was beta stage in Marvel's Avengers. I remember talking about that, and it's funny that both of these games are put out by Square Enix. Sitting watching these guys, and now that game is, oh man, they talking about Marvel Cinematic Universe skins, thinking that's gonna save that game. That game's done. Those guys you listened to the wrong people, and you did exactly what I said would happen, and here you are. And if Outriders listen to these idiots, it's gonna be the same thing. What they have said, and they've made it abundantly clear, is that not everybody is going to be able to complete that and be able to max their builds out. It's simply not possible. What's the problem? What's the issue? What's the problem? You got nerfed for balance purposes, not just to get nerfed, for balance purposes. That what they, and when they're in that, and what they're saying is that not everybody, it is an online RPG at the end of the day. Not everybody is going to be able to 50 this out. It's simply not possible because some of y'all are not going to be good enough. Some people, like me and Napa, for like 7 hours, we're playing on World Tier 14, got our asses kicked. Not once did it go. You can go watch it. As frustrating as it might have been, you can go watch that stream. That was my 13-hour stream. I streamed for half a fucking day. Not once did I sit up there and cry to the devs. We didn't do that. We were like, all right, we got to come up with a plan, and we finally came up with a plan, went back, made some modifications, and we beat it. That video is live on Young Ripper 59 Entertainment. I'm not bitching to the devs because if we never beat it, it just would have had to been the case. Because I'm not going to cry if I can't beat something. That's okay. It's okay. What they're saying is that the in-game content is simply not going to be completed by everybody. It was never meant to be the case. There's nothing wrong with that. Your builds got nerfed. My build got nerfed. I'm not crying because I kind of admit it was a little. The twisted rounds are a little overpowered on Outriders. If you're using like some of the builds that like the build that I use, the one that slows time and whatnot. Your builds are getting nerfed. Redditors are crying about it. You can go to their patch notes page, and those Redditors are crying. And I'm sitting here thinking, if they listen to them, they are going to destroy this game. This is a game that has something decent going for it. They're going to destroy this game if they listen to them. The ones that are sitting here griping about, and it's like, what the fuck does this? Like, I'm sitting here watching. And I don't know. I'm looking at all these comments, right? And I'm sitting here. You can guess people's political stances. And I'm like, I'm willing to bet all these guys that are sitting there crying right now are fucking left, because they're coming up with weird complaints like, we had server issues. Why would you? What the fuck do the servers got to do? What they got to do? Why would you? What does that have to do with anything? Yes, the servers were jacked. They were not. They were clearly not prepared. What does that got to do with the actual gameplay? Nothing. Means you can't play, I guess. But what does that got to do with all of these service issues for you to nerf? What you cry? What? Redditors are where Redditors where games go to die. And Redditors it's a certain type of person that is on Reddit all the time, following the things and things that they like. And that's a certain type of person. That is a demographic nonetheless, but it doesn't mean that it's a meaningful demographic to the point to where you should change your entire game. And this is why, and I mentioned this the other day, why I'm like, I understand the argument of developers that was, I understand the whole listen to the community thing. I get that. From a gameplay standpoint, I totally understand that. But you have to admit that not every complaint from the community or a sector of it is a legitimate one, if that makes sense. They're not game designers at the end of the day, right? You see what I mean? Like, they're not game designers, so they're not concept designers in the gaming space. So you have to be able to say and be able to separate that. And I admit that can't be the easiest thing to do if you're a game developer. Separating the noise from the, like, okay, maybe this is the direction that we go in, right? But you have to be able to draw that line somewhere. And I think the games that end up going to the tank are the ones that listen. You I guess there's a such thing of listening to the community too much. All I'm saying is I'm watching this game be destroyed by, or attempted to be destroyed by, again, I'm getting deja vu, by Redditors. And if they listen to them, yeah, that game is going to be dog crap. That's what's going to happen. If they listen to them, yeah, it's not going to last. But the idea and what makes it good, and this is the thing, or rather what makes it, not I won't say even unique, why the in-game content for Outriders is a great concept. Because for those of you that don't play it, you have at your disposal a bunch of different modifications. There's like literally an endless amount. Like, I haven't even unlocked any like tier 3 because I wear the legendary, so I don't even have tier 3 mods for my like gear, right? For the weapons, yeah, but not for necessarily the gear. When I say it is almost a near infinite amount of different like combinations, like they gave the audience, or rather the player, the user, a countless amount of different things that they could do to try to gear it towards not only their playing style but to their team, right? And because of that, and the game being based on like being difficult, being difficult, it's not an easy game by any means. The concept, and as I've just mentioned, is that not everybody is going to beat it at the end. The separation, though, from myself and what a lot of other guys look at is that I'm okay with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with the people that reach the upper echelon, so the higher 48s, 49s, and the 50s are just simply better players. They're simply better. And some folks will hit a ceiling. I look at that and I don't get offended. I look at that and I'm not offended by anything. I don't need dynamic difficulty. I don't need anything that to adjust. I'm perfectly fine with that. But there's a lot of folks that believe in this concept of accessibility, and that's not good enough. Being able to lower the tier isn't good enough for them because the tiers are tied to better gear. Higher the tier, the higher the level of the gear, the better weapon drops and what have you. So they look at it like I'm going to be on the outside looking in because my build isn't as effective as what it was when it was kind of cheesy. I look at it like, oh, that's another challenge. So this is my pitch. People can fly. Take Redditors with a grain of damn salt. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm the only person in the community. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that is a specific demographic and is not necessarily representative of your player base. But if you want to listen to them, you will. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.